All right, so today we're going to talk about fractional exponents and what they mean and how we can use them to simplify expressions. This is lesson 46 in your workbook. So we know how to write square root, cube root, fourth root using the root symbol. But another way to write them is to use rational or fractional exponents. For example, the square root of 25 would be 25 to the 1/2 power. And there's no number on the root, but we could write it as, it's called an index, and we could write it as a 2. The cube root of 27 would be 27 to the 1/3 power. And the fourth root of 16 would be 16 to the 1/4 power. And notice this thing that I call the index is the denominator of our power. The properties that we used for simplifying exponential expressions are still true. They still work. Again, here is a listing of them, a summary. If you need, pause the video and you can copy those down. So if the nth root of a is a real number and m is an integer, then a to the 1/n is the same as the nth root of a. And a to the m divided by n is the nth root of a raised to the m power. If m is negative, then a cannot be 0. Again, negative exponent would put that in the denominator. We cannot have 0 in the denominator. So just in general, a to the m divided by n, m would be our exponent for our expression, and n is the index of the root. So we could simplify expressions with radicals. 125 to the 1/3, I should say with rational exponents or fractional exponents. 125 to the 1/3 would be the cube root of 125, and most calculators actually have a cube root button. You just need to find it, or you could ask me in class the next time we meet. 5 to the 1/2 times 5 to the 1/2. Well, our rule says we can add our exponents. 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1. And anything to the first power is just that thing. So we get 5. Here we have the same power, different bases. So we can write this as 10 times 100, that whole thing to the 1/3 power, or this would be 1000 to the 1/3, or to the cube root of 1000. The cube root of 1000 is 10. A couple of others as we go through. Negative 32 to the 3/5. So this would be the 5th root of negative 32 cubed. Now again, you could use your calculator, take negative 32 in parentheses, take that to the 3/5 power. I'm going to show you how to do it kind of by hand. Negative 32, well, let's see. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, times negative 2 is negative 8, times negative 2 is positive 16. times another -2 is -32. So the fifth root of -32 is -2. It is okay to take an odd root of a negative value. And then if I cube -2, I get -8. If this was an even power, if it was -32 to the 4/5, to the 3/4, that would not be a real answer, and we're not going to deal with that right now. 4 to the -3.5. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change that decimal into a fraction. So this would be 4 to the -7/2. And we know when we have a negative exponent, I can write that as 1 over and make the exponent positive. That would have been Friday's lesson. So this is 1 over the square root of 4 to the 7th. The square root of 4 is 2. And now if I go 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32, times 2 is 64, times 2 is 128. The last bit we're going to work on is what happens if I have an expression that I need to simplify. So we're going to write 16y to the -8th raised to the -3/4 in its simplest form. So one of my rules says if I have a product, I can basically distribute my exponent. So this would be the same as 16 to the -3/4, y to the -8th to the -3/4. And -8 times -3/4 is a +6. Now, if I deal with my negative exponents and my fractional exponent, the y to the 6th is positive, it stays in the numerator. And my 16 to the -3/4 is the 4th root of 16. That thing is cubed. Y to the 6th. The 4th root of 16 is 2. And if I cube 2, I get 8. So your assignment is on page 316 in your text. I want you to do 46A, 46B, 46C, and 46D, just the evens. And again, upload those to Schoology when you finish. I will set them to be due on Wednesday. Enjoy your time off, and I look forward to seeing you next week.